Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Technical Area Insider. I am your host, Michael Doria. Today, we have a great interview with assistant coach Mike Ditta. He's with Cal State San Bernardino men's soccer program. They are flying high right now in NCAA Division II. They're ranked in the top 25. We sit down with Mike to talk a little bit about his personal journey. We talk about the importance of faith and family as your support system when you're a manager. And we talk about the recruiting process, not only from the coaching side, but also he's been through it as a parent. So there's some great wisdom here on this particular episode to be shared with everybody. Please follow along on all of our channels. We are on Instagram at Technical Area Insider, and we are now uploading videos to YouTube as well. So if you've missed any past episodes, feel free to log in and follow along there and catch up. Enjoy the episode, and we'll see everybody soon. Welcome into the Technical Area. I am your host, Michael Doria. I am super excited to welcome another guest into our show today. With us from Cal State University at San Bernardino, the Coyotes, Division II NCAA, and they compete in the California Collegiate Athletic Association. I'm super excited to welcome in a longtime friend and a coaching legend in the Southern California area. Mike Ditta is joining us on the show today. Mike, welcome in, and thanks for making some time for us.
Of course, Doria. Thanks so much for having me. Kind of exciting. My first time being in an interview process with the podcast style, and so I'm excited to see how it goes, and looking forward I can share something that makes sense to everyone.
Well, we'll treat you very kindly, I promise, and you'll bring a lot of value to the show. So I really appreciate you being here. I want to start, Mike. I want to start with a little bit of your playing career. Obviously, you grew up in Riverside, California. You ended up going to college at Azusa Pacific and playing there. When did you first get the bug for soccer, and how did you know that was going to be your sport?
I was about 6 years old. I still remember that season pretty vividly for some reason. Mom and dad signed me up for Riverside ASO. I forget our region number. Gosh, my buddy would kill me. But signed me up for AYSO, and we went to Central Middle School, right across the street from Riverside Community College, and started playing every Saturday and Sunday. I think even mom and dad were helping coach. Because volunteer, and they were reffing, and first day up, I was the new guy on the block because I'm 6. I think they've already played a season or two, and so I was a little bit late to the game, and they said, "Hey, get in goal. That's what we need the position the most." I'm like, "All right, I'll start in goalie," and thankfully that didn't last too long because I think they moved me up eventually, and I know I scored a bucket of goals that year, so they didn't want to put me back in the goalie. Thank God.
Too valuable going forward.
Yeah, for sure.
and you stay local for college. You end up at Azusa Pacific. During that time, as players grow in their career, they start to take leadership roles. Tell me about the experience you had at Azusa Pacific, and maybe is that the time in your life where you start thinking about becoming a coach, or is it after the playing career? Talk to me about your experience there.
Yeah, you probably got to take a step back or two before APU, because first of all, I was not the student athlete. Didn't really do well for me. I was more of just the athlete, and my dad just said, "Hey, you have to get C's if you want to play soccer," and I said, "No problem." So I generally got C's, and I was able to play in high school. And I think that's when I started to get a little more serious about the game, because I was that first freshman guy, even though I played pretty good on the club level as a freshman. I was on Frosh Soft, and I was the last man on the bench. And so I'd come in with 5 minutes to go left in the game, and all my buddies were like, "Yeah, Ditta." I was that guy. And then I had a little bit of a metamorphosis for some reason in the high school where, a lot of my buddies were making the CIF trip to, getting called up for CIF on the varsity team. And I wasn't even playing. And, but then the next year I became a captain of JV, and junior year became the only junior that started and played every match on varsity. And I was playing at a pretty competitive club with Octavio Zambrano.
Sure.
And he kind of gave me the bug, probably really that like I really started to love the game at that level. And I think from there, right after that, I started to coach at my alma mater at Riverside Poly, and it was a girlfriend's family, former girlfriend actually. I was not involved with the high school anymore. I graduated a year out, and the little sister was playing, and they said, "We need an assistant coach. Would you please come help?" And I said, "Sure. I mean, that's easy, no problem." I still lived in the area. I hadn't decided what I'm going to do with school. I was still playing club, and so that's kind of how I got the coaching bug per se. And needless to say, we won CIF that year with the girls Riverside Poly team, 1993, and I thought, I'm born for this.
This
Let's
is
keep doing
easy.
this. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, you got a really good introduction. Well, it's kind of hard to walk away from it after that, right?
yeah, yeah. Needless to say, it was a little more difficult than we thought after that, for sure.
For sure. Yeah, sure. So, all right. So now take me to APU and your experience there, and as a player and as you grow into a leader there as well.
Well, I kept coaching. Um,
Okay.
those days, there was a lot of like young guys like us helping the dads who were like the managers, and I would show up for training. I didn't have to work on the weekend. I would just show up Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Wednesday, and dad took care of it on the weekend. So I was getting paid pretty well just to be a trainer, and kept doing that. And I landed at APU just by circumstance. I was playing at Vanguard University at the time, of Southern California College, and I became friends with Don Lawrence. Great man, great manager. Still keep in touch with Don to this day. And I was coaching high school. I want to say I was coaching Canyon Hills High School in Anaheim Hills.
Okay. Yeah.
It
Sure.
was my second high school gig, and it was on the boys' side. And so we're at a tournament, and I was saying my experience right now with playing at Vanguard, and wasn't real high on it. And he said, "Hey, if there's any other issues, you always have a home here." And I said, "I always have a home here." Needless to say, that year didn't go so well at Vanguard, so I hit up Don. I said, "Don, I'm ready to transfer." And
Okay.
he said, "What's it going to take?" And I said, "This is what I'm getting here. I'll just match it. I'm good." And he matched it, and off I went to APU for my senior season.
Okay.
And it was already a really talented team. APU had a pretty good reputation at the time. They were at the NAI level, and I think they'd come off, national final appearances or won it,
Yeah.
whatever it was. And so I walked into a pretty loaded team, and you know, kind of felt like I fit in. I knew some of the guys from club, and obviously I'd played against them. I was a new guy coming in, but they knew I could play, and so I felt like it was a pretty good experience. But I met also another guy named Jason Sorrell. He
Okay.
was assisting on the women's side, and he quickly kind of befriended me during that time as an assistant coach. We're the same age, but I was
Yeah.
also coaching at the Patty Dory Soccer Club
Yeah.
on the club side, and
Michigan
he
Hills.
he he was alum from Pat's, and
Okay.
so that's how we had a little connection. He said, "Hey, I'm taking over the South Hills High School team this next year. Will you help me?" And I decided to move over and help him on that coaching position, and from there it was just a great experience meeting these great people and being around people that really were competitive. And like I said, Don was a great Christian man, great manager of people. He happened to get sick that season, and I didn't get a lot of work with him, but that whole experience at APU, meeting people, getting around really high level people, and the environment, the Christian environment, really continued to shape me. So, it was an awesome experience. Other than I had to really be a student that year, because when you transfer that final
Yeah.
year, you haven't done any of the prep work and the
Sure.
early classes, and I had a senior project, so I was taking like 20 units each
Oh,
semester to graduate on
oh,
time. So other than that, it was a really great experience. I think we got up to like fifth in the nation. We had a very
yeah.
few like legit players on our team, and one of them was Carlos Ochoa. He was a
Uh-huh.
Mexican national team player. I think he played for Tecos for a little bit, and he was probably the best player I've ever played with. And he got injured about halfway through league, and we didn't even make playoffs after he got injured. We
Oh,
finished like fourth, couldn't
okay.
couldn't advance. So it ended poorly, but you know, other than that, it was really a great experience. Graduated, no problems, and then even the year that the high school season that we had with Jason Sorrell, who was coaching at South Hills High School, we won the Division III boys
Okay.
CIF championship that year and league. So yeah, that's so it's from '94 to '99. I had won 2 CIF championships as
Man,
assistant
yeah.
coaches. Yeah, I'm a
What's
born
the common
assistant. Let me
thread?
tell you.
It's Mike. It's Coach Ditta. I love it. I love it. And I know. So you and I have talked outside of this program here a little bit about. You went into teaching, and I'm the son of an educator, and so I always appreciate. We are all teachers, I think, as coaches. Maybe take me a little bit through your experience as a teacher and how you draw that correlation to your what eventually became your career in coaching.
Well, I grew up. I wouldn't say poor, but middle class. You know, maybe just underneath that. And I always dreamed of making a lot of money. And so
Uh-huh.
as I was finishing my school year, I thought for sure I was going to be doing something related to finances.
Yeah.
And then I asked a professor that I had at APU. I said, "What do you think? Like, currently a coach, like coaching 2 club teams, coaching high school, doing some trainings. What do you think?" And he's like, "Yeah, you got to be a teacher, man." I said, "Okay."
How much does that
So
pay?
yeah, I'm thinking, all right, like my girlfriend at the time, her family was in education. Dad, Rick Kempton, he was a superintendent, principal, teacher for a long time. So he was kind of hitting me that way too. That's why I kind of asked. I was like, I don't know, man, and because what I had done is my studies was sociology. Like that doesn't prepare you for teaching.
Right.
So I would have had to take all these tests, and that's one thing I am definitely not as a good test taker. I don't mind playing under pressure and showing up for match
Yeah.
day, but man,
Yeah.
those tests, I hate test day at school. So, um, anyways, I said, all right, I'm going to go with it. So I just went down that road. In the Christian education world, you can jump into teaching in
Hmm.
public as well, but you can jump into teaching and make a pretty good salary right out of the
Hmm.
gate, and then beyond, you basically commit to a graduate work as you're teaching and get your teaching certificate during that time. So that's what I tried to do. Um, and I went in full board. I was fully committed. I was like, I'm going to coach and teach, maybe be an athletic director,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. So I went in to get my master's in education administration, and get my credential. I finished both. I had now by
Pass
that
some
time.
tests along the way.
I did pass some tests along the way. I did. But up came the big credentialing tests. And I was like, man, this is like 3 years in now. And I'm like, I'm already committed to it. And, I've been teaching, and teaching was really hard. I had this great mentor teacher, Greg Cap. He could teach like nobody's business, and had a whole routine. And I was trying to mimic the routine. And you can't do that as an educator. You got to be you.
Right. Yeah.
But I tried my best. Um, and so I kind of put off the testing. I finished the education. I had my master's, but then you had to take the test. And so a couple more years in, it's like, oh, I'm gonna take it now. I'm gonna take it now. I kept putting it off, and right around that time, I got offered a full-time gig with the Patty Doors Soccer Club as a youth director, and prayed about it, talked it over with the wife, and thought that was the best thing for me, financially, everything, and what I wanted to do, what my passion was, what I was good at. And so that's kind of what transpired for me during my whole teaching. I always enjoyed the kids.
Yeah.
I enjoy the people. I hate being in a classroom. I hate homework. I hate tests. So I don't think I was the best teacher. I still keep in touch with some of my students that I had during
Right.
those times randomly, and they always loved me. But I know that they gave me a lot of patience, and they were compassionate for my love for soccer. I think more than the classroom.
Well, so you're involved in the youth game quite a bit, and your managerial career is starting to take off. Tell me about the opportunity that gets you to Santiago Community College.
That's a good one too. So the vice president of the Padre Soccer Club was Wayne Frazier, and he was heavily involved. He had a really good son that was playing in the club, Wade Frazier, and he was
Sure.
part of my first team. And Wade and I kind of kicked it off, and I did pretty well for that team. I mean, it was a high level team. It was one of those teams that I think out of our 18 players, 17 of them played college soccer, and 15 of them went to Division I level. So I mean, it was a top level team, and I was fortunate at 22 to be coaching that team, and did pretty well. But I think most importantly, they liked what I was doing with the club, and what I was able to bring, and he was nice enough also to bring me in to the family, and I stayed a summer there in between one of my college seasons. So I became even closer to the family. The wife, Bunny, she's awesome too. She's always supportive, and how you doing? And so it's a great family. And I kept in touch with Wade throughout his college career. He played at SMU, and then he came back home and started coaching right away. He landed the assistant job at Santiago Canyon College, and out of the blue, he's like, "Hey, I got the head coaching job because the other guy left." And I'm like, "Wow, awesome." I never wanted to coach college. I never really rated the level, you
Yep.
know, all things, being equal. So I just never thought I'd do it. But he would say, "Hey, can you do it? Because you have your master's. Will you help me out?" And I said,
Hmm.
"Sure, yeah, no problem." I just came in for the season, taught the 2 classes that I'm supposed to teach. It was assistant coach, and by the end of the season, I was like, "Man, I enjoy coaching the adults and the men, young men there and that level, especially the JC level where that's how I was. I didn't play JC, but I went to the JC and kind of had some of that lifestyle and profile. So I fit in well with guys that had great potential, maybe had some challenges, whatever. And it was just a really great experience. So through that experience, that's what kind of like kept me, I would say, motivated to pursuing the next levels, because I want to say I just finished in my licensing at that time too. I think I went like DCBA all in order, like
Yeah.
2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, nailed
Yep.
them all down. And then when I was there at Santiago Canyon College, ran into a player's family that was working at Orange Lutheran, and
Hmm.
he said, "Hey, the Concordia of Irvine job is open at men's soccer. Don Ebert's retiring. You should go apply for it." I'm like, "Well, I'm not a Lutheran. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
Christian. I'm game, but like, I don't know." He's
Sure.
like, "Don't worry. It's just like Catholic. So you're good." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, sure, whatever that means."
Yeah.
So he gave me the referral, and I went after that job, and I wish I hadn't at times, but it was a great experience. As I went through the process, I got nailed down to the finalists with Chris Gould, and the committee actually selected me on Thursday. Got the call
Okay.
Thursday night, met with the AD on Friday. And by Tuesday of the next week, um, I had supposed to meet the team, never met the team. I get a call from HR saying they rescinded the offer, and they're going with the other candidate. And that began my quest to become a college coach.
Lit the fire.
I
Lit the
think it
fire.
did. It did.
Yeah.
It put me back in my faith a little bit. I was bitter with God, but I learned a lot of things along the way. So it was definitely a little humble pie, let's say.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, you've had stops at and I'm not sure if I will get all the spots right, but I know Pomona Pitzer, University of Laverne, obviously UC Irvine, also. Um, all for those that are outside of the area, those are all roughly within a, I don't know, 45-minute triangle, if you will, depending on the day and the amount of traffic on the 5 and the
100%.
91 and the 55. But I got to imagine being in that area, being part of college programs. You're spoiled in some way in terms of the recruiting aspect. There's a lot of great players, and I don't want obviously that's where I come from as well. But truly, there's a lot of great players in Southern California. Maybe talk to me about the recruiting aspect in those positions, and maybe a little bit about your different roles with those universities, and how you went about recruiting.
Yeah, Southern California is home. I'm not leaving anytime soon, God willing. And not to say that there's not other great places. There's awesome places around the world, certainly around our country. But SoCal is tough to beat, as you know.
Yes.
I'm grateful that I have a home here. And for soccer purposes, yes, it's a hotbed. I mean, we got talent so much it gets lost. And I really did nothing but coach at Santiago Canyon. That was it. And came in there and coached and was gone. Little did I know what it really takes to coach at the collegiate level. And George Kuntz, the head coach at UC Irvine at the time, he had just hired me to do this camp in Hawaii after because I had told him, hey, I got the job at Concordia Irvine. Oh wow, yeah, we're looking for coaches to go over to Hawaii because he's the Hawaiian youth technical director. So he's like, hey, we got this camp, come on over. I'm like, sweet, this is perfect. So I had to tell him, I'm like, hey, I'm not the head. It was only for head coaches, this camp, and he said, no problem. But he's like, I have an assistant job, and one of his coaches, Ziggy Smith's son, Kurt, was going to Seattle to coach with the Sounders. And so that left the second assistant position open. So I was like, yeah, I'm game. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So I take that position on. I'm assistant to him and Chris Folk. And I think Brian Wallace was even there at that time. And Brian Wallace and I go way back. I hired him for the Pats. And now we're back together. And I mentioned Brian Wallace because he probably has one of the most pivotal points in my coaching career, because he's coaching with us at the Pats, and he was big time. Like, I really respected him, enjoyed his approach. He had been around a lot of good quality coaching, and so I was picking his brain one day, and I'm like, hey man, if you had a kid, would you have your kid be coached by me? He said no, like straight, just like no. And I'm like his boss, and I'm like,
yeah.
And he's Jamaican, so he's got a little different personality, and I was mad. I was mad. I was like,
yeah.
And but it registered with me, and I still tell him to this day. I said, had you not said that, I wouldn't have become a better coach. So he challenged me to become a better coach, and I never told him that at the time. I told him that after I was all done trying to be the best coach I could be. Yeah. So we're all working together, and the second assistant role is tough because you're like in the mix, but you're not. Mm-hmm. The head coach and the first assistant at the collegiate level that I've been around, like those guys, they usually make the calls and leading everything, and I'll get to warm up the guys, or I'll get to cool down the guys, or you can build the relationships with the players. At that time I'm still kind of younger, early 30s, mid 30s, and I could still play with those guys, believe it or not. And But they, you tried to recruit, but you kind of had to prove yourself, and you would say, hey man, I got Michael Doria over here. He's a pretty good player, and they go look and give you the all right.
I did. I got a lot of those.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right. So then what you're trying to do is not trying to find the best player for what you would envision for a position or a system or a program, but what they want. And so, and that's in the initial going. But that's what I tried to do. I tried to, learn what kind of players they wanted, what players we needed, what players we could afford, because UC Irvine was a mid-major at best, and we're talking about working with 7.5 scholarships at the time. I think even when I got there it was even less, but that's what we ended up finishing with, and that was in-state only. We did have a little bit of support with the international waivers. I think we ended up having one or something like that, so we could get one international or out of state at the in-state cost. So we had to work a lot with a little budget. So I did my best to try to bring as many names and as many players out. Even tried to give me a little bit of responsibility with ID camps, and tried to do that. But it was tough. It was tough working at UC Irvine in terms of just resources that we had. And so to do all that we did at UC Irvine, and to bring in I thought George did a great job of
Hmm.
utilizing his contacts to get like top level kids outside of SoCal. And probably not really outside of SoCal, but on the peripheral, we're talking like we're bringing in a Miguel Ibarra, who ended up playing with the United States national U.S. men's national team, and had a good career overall from Palmdale, we had some
Yep.
connections through the Palmdale area. He brought in Brad Evans before I
Hmm.
was even there, and Brad
Sure.
Evans was a big time player. So he did a
Absolutely.
good job of finding those like players in Arizona or wherever that could really fly under the radar, but came into UCI and flourished because you think at that time I think they're still playing UCLA a little bit.
Sure.
The conference then after they moved into the Big West, it was UCSB and Santa
Yeah.
Barbara's winning
Yeah.
national championships. So the conference was really good and developed a lot of good players. Like you said, there's a lot of talent in UCSB, or in SoCal, and being able to compete against some of those high level teams. Cal Poly was even really competitive in our
Yeah.
area. Northridge became pretty prominent too when I was there. So like
Yeah.
that was really big. But I think the profile that you're trying to look for in the college game is a little bit different sometimes. And what I found is you want guys that are number one, good students. The better students are the ones that you don't have to worry about and hold their hands.
Yep.
But they also want to get education. They're not just there to play. The ones that are just there to play, it's a little bit more difficult to balance. So you're trying to find that. Plus, I realized that at all the schools, if you had great GPA
Yeah.
prospects, well, they're going to get either more money or more support.
That's right.
So now we're getting free money, not just from athletics. So for me, that was always kind of the goal. How can I find these kids, and how are these kids going to benefit, from our situation, and really just trying to fit that profile together. And both at UCI and Pomona Pitzer. Pomona Pitzer, I had full carte blanche. Like I,
Okay.
I was able to bring in as many of the guys that I wanted, as long as Bill approved of them. But as the years went on with Bill, it was even more like, yeah, just I trust you now. Oh, okay.
Right. You proved yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and which was great for me, because I think really in recruiting, um, you as a recruiter kind of have to see it from the beginning to the end,
Hmm.
because you're the one that's bringing in the player. And from both early on with Pomona Pitzer and with UC Irvine, I basically just tried to get the players bought into what I'm you know delivering
Sure.
about the school, and then
Yeah.
the head coach would come in and try to close it. That's
Yeah.
hard. Like that was hard. So I had to be really careful of like, not promising too much, not saying anything that wouldn't, be, and that just takes a lot of time working with the head coach, working with the program, working with the school, so you could kind of set that
Yeah.
up. But it still was I always felt odd. So the last 4 years that I was at Pomona Pitzer, when I was able to recruit all the kids, they're all seniors this year. When I
Okay.
was able to recruit every single player, other
Yeah.
than some kids would talk to the head coach, randomly, and Bill would be like, "Hey, I got this top kid." I'm like, "Awesome," but for
Yeah.
the most part, all the kids were kids that I basically said, "Hey, here's where we're going," showed them the vision, told them the vision, and can you buy into that? Because that's what you can expect. And I think that also goes well for them and their families, because then they know what they're basically handing off to your son. And that was the same that's the experience that I wanted for my daughter, is that
Yeah.
I'm handing off my daughter to you, and
Yeah.
in my coaching case, they're handing off their son to me. And I wanted them to know that, hey, like, here's what they can expect, both academically, athletically, and then here's going to be the vision for them for 4 years. So you could tell them how much you expected them to play, basically, right? Like what kind of
Yeah.
role on their team, so on and so forth. What are they capable of achieving? Obviously you can't predict it, but like, let's face it, at that time now, I've been coaching for, maybe 12, 15 years roughly
Yeah.
at the college level. I think I had a pretty good idea of the conference level of, all conference players, championship conference teams. So I could say, hey, if you do all the right things, you could be
Yeah.
here, and we see you
Right.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's I mean, you bring up some really great points. There's so many things that you just delved into. Well, and I do want to save some time to talk about going through the recruiting process as a parent, since you've been doing it as a coach, but what it's like being on the other side. But we'll get to that. I guess when you are out there looking for players, you've mentioned a couple of important items that you're looking for, a vision, right, that you're trying to get to buy into. Um, and talk to me about the process of sharing your vision with players and how that translates. How do you get the buy-in from that? And do you feel that that's the toughest task of all the pieces of recruiting? Because there's the financial aspect, right? And there's the coach, I want playing time and all that. But where does the vision piece of it and the buy-in come in, as somebody who's out there recruiting people all the time?
Well, it's always easier if you have a established program, I've learned.
Mm-hmm.
I I want to say I came into UCI as they were establishing themselves. They had
Okay.
done a great job. They had just got to the round of 16 of the NC2As. I think they had won the first conference tournament of the Big West. So they had just landed. Like,
Yeah.
we can compete with UCSB, no problem. I want to say that's, you know, if George could correct me if I'm wrong, but for the most part, I think that was it. And then we had another year of success and another year of success. And so for UCI, like, yeah, we couldn't pull kids away from UCLA, let's say, or Cal,
Yep.
both because academically they're a little bit more competitive than I think internationally, worldwide,
Uh-huh.
than UC
Yep.
Irvine. So yeah, we were still kind of second fiddle, but like in our area, everyone knew UCI was a great school academically.
Yes.
They knew they had been competing recently, and you had the likes of some really great professionals that had turned out got drafted in this, and so we were basically that little brother. So we,
Yeah.
we could recruit a lot of top talent that was maybe just second tier talent.
Mm-hmm.
We still couldn't get all the top kids, and so I think one angle that I took was that, like, we want to maintain what we're doing and even continue to you know go beyond where we're at. Like, we want to maintain this level. We want to be championship level. We want to be an elite level. We're still not there. We want to win a national championship. We want to, so on and so
Yeah.
forth. Like, can you be, that guy that's like a builder? That's kind of what I termed them. We want to bring in builders. Because we're still building. We're not
Yeah.
we're not there yet. We're not polishing. I don't need any polishers. I need
Right.
builders, right? So,
Yeah.
so I went after a lot of those types of kids.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Pomona Pitzer. Very, very. We're not CMS as much as we thought we were better than Claremont Mudd Script. We're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Pomona is a really elite academic institution, and we have some great sports in the athletic
Sure.
program, but we weren't at the CMS level. And so that was the same thing. Like, when I was able to know that I was talking from the standpoint that I'm going to lead this player all the way through, that's what I would tell him about is, hey, we're looking to bring in builders, like hard
Yeah.
workers, and now at Cal State San Bernardino,
Yeah.
we call them dogs. We're looking for
Okay.
dogs. Like,
Yeah.
we need dogs here. So, because it's the same concept. We want guys that want to do the
Yeah.
dirty work, that want to keep building the program to a level that is, at the national scale.
And this is perfect transition. Your Coyotes are 6-2-3 on the year. You're the lead assistant there, one of the assistants there. Talk to me about the success that you've had now in a short amount of time. All of a sudden, I look up at the rankings and I see a number 24 next to Cal State San Bernardino, and man, that pops your eyes, right? Like, so, what's the? I'm sure the environment right now is great. The locker room's probably an enthusiastic group. What's it like inside that locker room?
It's amazing. I mean, that's the words I like to use. It's a privilege to be a part of it. I can't
Yeah,
take much credit for that. Josh Hill's the head coach. Edwin
sure.
Diaz is the lead assistant, and Alex Renderos is the goalkeeper coach. They've been working on it for a while, and I'm fortunate enough just to be at the right place at the right time, and trying to contribute to all aspects that I can. Josh and Edwin, who have been there the longest, have just given me a great role and have really, welcomed me to every level. I'm doing my best to be there all the time and commit to the guys and the vision, the philosophy that Josh goes with. And initially, I did not buy. Shouldn't say buy in. I had never had to experience the game model that Josh goes with, which is a very
Okay.
high tempo, I would call it, game
Okay.
model. He wants to get up and back, up and back, up and back. I've always loved, a little bit more control. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say, possession, but as we called it at the Pats, it's always possession with a purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want to get forward and we want to go score goals, but we also want to control the game. So it was something I was really like unfamiliar with and never really was like bought into. And but he has a very clear presentation for both like staff and for the team. And so we all know kind of, and it's evolving, right? I mean, he's a young coach and he's involving his model, but I mean, his principles are pretty clear, and we try to develop it. He has a great development plan too, and so it's been great to experience that and learn. That was one thing that I wanted to do, was go to a place that I could continue to learn and grow and not just be a guy, picking up
Sure.
cones and washing vests, and you know what I mean, like. So no,
Yeah.
it's all stuff that I'm learning, and he's coaches are learning, players are learning, and I think that's the last part, is that he creates a real good culture. Obviously everybody's talking about Pochettino and his recent quote, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right, whatever that is, it's culture eats tactics up for breakfast, something like
Yeah. All
that.
day long.
All
Yeah.
right, so, and it's true. Like I've seen it so much. If you can create the winning culture, the winning mindset, then you're able to be more successful, and that's what Josh has been here now for 4 years. I think this is his 5th season, and so he's pretty established, and I think he's figured a lot of things out along the way, and I think it's a real positive, competitive environment, and he's got some great players too. I mean, Anthony Morales, I mean, he's just a beast. Tony Negretti, same thing. I mean, he's playing on one knee, and I think he's averaging like a goal every 50 minutes or something like that. It's crazy. So
Wow.
it's a real great environment overall from top to bottom, and it's been great getting to experience these parts so far. I mean, I started in, let's call it July, so I haven't really had a lot to do with. I've done a little bit of recruiting, tiny bit of that, and really it's just been day to day in the season.
A national ranking, I assume that helps with the recruiting conversations.
Yes, and we don't need a lot of pieces for next year, knock on
Okay.
wood. So it
Yeah.
is a little selective. Like we're looking at all the junior colleges. That's a big piece for the kids we
Yeah.
want in. We're looking for a lot of guys that maybe are falling off some of the top level academies that, aren't going to UCLA or Portland or wherever, and like,
Sure.
Josh has a lot of great connections. So he's, tied into a lot of those things through either, the U.S. Soccer side of things or MLS side of things. So he's got a few solid connections that can connect us to a lot of those players that are at the elite level, but they're kind of second tier at that level.
Well, it sounds like you'd be a great mentor, and you and I are both at that stage in our careers where we're starting to become mentors. Did you have a mentor per se, from a coaching perspective, that you looked up to? And if you didn't, do you now see the value in having a mentor? Is that something you'd recommend for young aspiring coaches?
100% I recommend it. I wouldn't say that I had a mentor. I think I've had, like I spoke to one person, Brian Wallace. I think I've had a lot of peers that I looked up to and that I looked at and said, no, I want to, be better like him in that way. But all the guys that I've worked with so far, even the coaches that I was directing at the youth level, or that I'm working with now, like, I mean, I coached Kevin Watson, and he's now the head director of the club that I'm working at Albion Riverside.
Yep.
and I'm looking up to him now. I used to
Yeah.
be his coach, and mentor. So the you know the roles have flipped, and he's
Yeah.
still pursuing the game at a high level, even though he only works with the high school and the youth levels. Like he's at a very, very high level, and he has a lot of
Yeah.
success, and he's a leader in our community. So I look up to him, and then I think ultimately, I think the biggest influence that I've had in my career is my wife. Like, it's not X's and O's, but it's like she's grounded me, as a man, as a husband, as a dad, and as a follower of Jesus Christ. Like, so all those lessons I've learned along those ways have helped me become a better coach, a better trainer, a better mentor, a better competitor. You know, the list goes on. Like I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without her, right? Like you know how it is. Like you got to
Yeah.
have that support system at home. And then I would say the other person, is my daughter. Like I've been really, really blessed to work with her in the game too, which is so awesome, as you know, like seeing your
Yeah.
kid playing the game
You bet.
and doing great things with it, and like learning how to work with her and communicate with her and listen to her and see all those things that she's doing, and then trying to translate it to kids, because she's a 2003. So all these kids are now in college now, right? Like I'm working with the
Yeah.
same age and now younger. So like learning how to like see, step back and watch some of the things that she's doing and saying. And so, I wouldn't say I have a mentor, but I
Yeah.
think, you have to be keen on, the people that are in your circle,
Yep.
a lot of peers, and then, your family and the guys that you've kept close to your inner circle, and how you can just keep growing as a person and as a coach. Cause I think who you are, the integrity of who you are, ultimately translates to who you are as a coach, or as a
Yeah.
your career. And so early on I was very immature. I thought I knew it all, and I didn't know very much. Went through a lot of tough lessons, I think, to get to a point where I feel like I still say now, like I'm a pretty good coach, but some are going to argue that still, so. And, yeah.
Well, okay. So this is, and I think this is, we're sort of peeling the layers of the onion, so to speak, when it comes to being a coach, especially at the collegiate level, Mike. There's a lot of ups and downs, right? And it's easy. I mean, you almost, your emotions hang on the very next game, and you want success, right? At that level, everybody's driven by results and success and winning. I mean, it's important. How you mentioned your wife, you mentioned your faith. Talk to me about those things and how they've bolstered you up and helped you get through those, dark waters, those times when things seem down, and you have that support system around you. I got to imagine those are the invaluable pieces that keep you pushing on. But share with us a little bit, if you would, just kind of that experience and what that's meant to you as a coach and a human.
Well, I think the Bible talks a lot about running the race, and
Yeah.
my father-in-law, this is his mantra all the time to his graduating classes, and so I picked up on that one, and I like that because that's it's an athletic metaphor. So
Yep.
and in our family, like we talk about the Ditta's never quit, and like that's, if you're in sports long enough, like there are things that you're going to have to go through, or in life, that are going to make you want to quit. And
Absolutely.
I think you have a purpose. Our purpose is, my faith and my belief in my God, and I know He has a purpose for me, for other people. So I know it's right now through soccer, and so I want to show up every day and do all those things to be the best that I can be. And obviously, when you're good, you're winning,
Right.
right? Like so, I feel like through that process of never giving up, having a purpose, and doing it for more than yourself, because that's what you're supposed to do. I feel like ultimately that it's allowed me to endure over this, period of time. Like I said, been coaching since, 1992, and
Right.
which is pretty amazing. And some years are great and you're winning a lot, and some years aren't so great and you're not winning a lot. But at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is become, your best every day. And I think that's what we try to, stand on if you're working in the people business. And that's always hard, because sometimes when you're winning, you're not your right person, or things going on personally, you're not the right person, and you're not the right person for others. And so as you get older and you get more mature, you realize, like, I think your experiences allow you to avoid more moments of, quitting
Right.
thoughts, and you're there to help pass along to people, that need that, so that they're not quitting, and they're going to the next exercise, going to the next repetition, going to the next game, and just keep looking at opportunities and keep trying to correlate that to, hey, like, this is life. Like, you're going to wake up one day and you go out to your car and the tire's flat. You're going to be like, what the heck's going on here? Or, you're going to be driving down the road and someone stops right in front of you, you plow into them. It's like, well, wait a minute, like, that's not supposed to happen. Or even worse things, right? Like, those are just
Yeah.
basic things, but still would ruin your day, for the start of it, or for at least a good portion of it. And,
Yep.
we got to get past that, and same thing with soccer. Like, hey, own goal, like, that sucks, but, pick yourself back up. Let's get on to the next one. And also learning as a coach to, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, that's what we want those moments, like, and handle those moments appropriately. And, like, ultimately, if you can, sit down at the end of the day and go, man, I don't know how I got through it, but I did. Like, I think, and you're actually showing that to your team and your staff and everyone around you that you're working with. I think, like, you're checking the box that I believe God wants us to check.
Lots of challenges. There's always challenges. You're right, and the challenges that we see as players or coaches are oftentimes minimal compared to what you see out in the real world, and our problems become very relative, right? Puts things in perspective for sure. I want to touch base quickly. We will have parents that will be tuning into this, and prospective players, and obviously we've mentioned already the joy you and I get out of watching our kids play. But you've sat on both sides of the table now as a parent going through the recruiting process, and you doing it for a living out there recruiting kids. Can you share with our audience here your experience as a parent going through, maybe some tips, if you take your coaching hat off, what was that experience like for you, and maybe some words of wisdom for all the parents out there that are obviously it's a time of anxiety, it's a season of anxiety, but maybe share some wisdom on that process.
Oh man, don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. It's even for, I was fortunate to be on the other side for a good number of years before being, dad in the recruiting process. So I had a pretty good perspective, felt really confident, no problem. Like, we're going to nail this pretty quickly. And I soon realized that even though I have a lot of friends in the business on both sides,
Yeah.
that does not translate into, helping someone land a spot. So, and I never went down that road. I never tried to call on my friends to, hey, take a look at my daughter. But I think, one, since I was in a lot of different roles, utilize all of those resources. Utilize your high school coaches. Utilize your club coaches. Utilize friends of friends, and recommendations, and call, and what do you think, and ask questions. And even if you're hearing information that's repetitive, or even if you're hearing information that doesn't make sense, hopefully it either brings up another question, or maybe you've heard it, and now when you hear something again, you're going to go, oh, that's what he was talking about. Because it's very disheartening to start the process of encouraging your daughter or your son to do great in school, which is number one. Like, that's why I told my daughter, I said, you have to do well in school. Your dad's a coach, and your wife's or your mom is a teacher. So it's going to be tough budgeting for, college education. So, you're saying that with, tongue in, cheek, but it's
Sure.
like, you're still like reality. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's expensive. So,
Yep.
but it was still the point of like doing well in school, like just do well in school and you're going to have more opportunities. That's the goal. Like if you're a 4.0 student, what school can't you go to for the most part? They're not very few, not very many. Is that right? So it's
You'll
very
have
few
plenty of
that's,
options.
yeah.
You bet.
So, and then like be on it. Like, you want to start, you got to get after the process. You can't be like, well, I'm not sure about this. Okay. Well, then you start somewhere and you get started, because that's what we did. During our process, it was tough because they were changing the rules from being recruited in whenever, for the most part, to like, okay, now it's your sophomore, junior, summer is when we can have first contact. So we were getting contacts. We're like, great, this is awesome. Like, our daughter's pretty good. And then
Yeah.
it was like, no, you can't talk anymore. Oh, wow. And then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, we picked that back up. We're doing well. Oh, wait, there's a pandemic. Probably not going to have another pandemic, but we're recruiting right in the middle of the pandemic. And you're like, this is weird. And so credit to the coaches, but I think also credit to like any parent or family that stays with it. Because as much as I hated it, my daughter would be like, hey, can you help me with this email? I'm like, I just helped you with 100 emails. Like, how many more emails am I going to help you with? That's in my mind. I'm thinking.
Right.
And then I was like, hey, well, look, if you go to draft in the email boxes, like you could use the
It's
same email and you could do. So, we went through that process, and, she just didn't feel really comfortable doing it all the time and how to do it. Right. Because it's like, you're talking to adults and you want to say the right things. And, these people have a big influence over your future. So you're trying to get it all right. And she is a perfectionist, so she wants to be perfect. We went to the ID camps. I kind of had a pretty good plan on that one, though. I think ID camps are great. Yeah, they're money makers, but more than anything, they're opportunities. So very early on, we took her to a big one that it had all the college coaches there. She didn't get to see all 70 coaches, but there was a lot of exposure. And then was like, hey, let's go to a college ID camp that's has a couple coaches, but it's overnight. It's residential. You get to be with the kids and
yeah.
no parents. And so we did that. And like, this is like the college life, as a freshman. So we kind of did all those things. And, then we utilized some of the college coaches. Hey, I think we heard, like, we really wanted to go to Texas Tech. I think that was one of our dream schools. Go to Texas Tech. We had a connection. They called Texas Tech. Crickets. You're like, okay, well, we're not going to Texas Tech.
Check that one off. Then mark that one off.
So at least we knew, right? At least we knew.
Yeah.
And then, but we kept after it. You kept,
Yeah.
I think I've heard one thing that's pretty good now is like you kind of have your dream list, you have your realistic list, and then you have your like no brainer list. Like,
Yeah.
I can go here, no problem. And that's what we kind of did. We were hitting all those, and we I think we were scratching the surface on all of them until Montana came calling, and then we started comparing that experience to maybe 2 or 3 other close schools that showed a lot of interest. Ironically, she's playing against one of the assistants that recruited her from another school. He's the head
That's
coach now at Idaho State.
That's the
And
coaching world for you.
right, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
and every year that she's played against him so far, she scored a goal until the last game.
Shout out to Maddie Ditta and the University of Montana Grizz,
Yeah,
top of the table out there in Montana. So,
that's so true.
yeah, that's the way of the world for sure. Last little bit here, and then I'll let you go. We've mentioned, your time in the game. How important, in your mind, is your network as a coach? How much weight do you give that? You've obviously got a lot of contacts in the game, especially in the college game. Is that something that you would, encourage young coaches to build their network as quickly as possible, or maybe give me your take on how important that is to their success and ability to move up?
Well, I don't recommend coaching, but
Okay, yeah.
but
But
those
if you were,
but those that can do it, yes, and I mean, when I started coaching, like I said, I was a good player, not great, but I was a good player. Played at a decent level. Um, was a good little role player that had good enough technique and good enough athleticism to play, and so I thought coming to coaching because I was a good player that I could be a great coach, and that is not true. Uh, but what you can do is begin to like you said, build your network. And I think for me, an example, like I was unfortunate not to have a great mentor, but I had a lot of mentors that were good, and a lot of them were my peers that have helped me become better coaching, or at coaching and in coaching. And so I think that's key. And thankfully, I wasn't always a great peer, especially to those that weren't wearing my badge. But
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even some wearing our same badge would probably argue, "Hey, you're too tough, or you do this." And I'm like, "Oh yeah." So I've learned to be a better person, as well as a peer to your colleagues. But I think I did enough to keep good relations and respect each other as much as possible. And I mean, I'm in the business because you know, I knew George Kuntz, and
Hmm.
he respected me enough to give me an opportunity in the game. I grew close enough with Chris Volk, who took over for Kuntz, and he kept me on, as an assistant. And then, I was friends enough with Bill Schwartz, who hired me on to be his assistant after I left UCI. And then I was friends enough to be with Trevor Persons at the University of Laverne, who,
Yep.
unfortunately resigned. But I was there for a season, and as soon as I was, free, he was like, "I want you to come help me." And then friends enough here with Josh Hill to like him say, "Hey, yeah, I got a spot for you." So like, and it doesn't have to be soccer. Like I don't think I aligned with
Right.
any of those coaches initially, but I grew to align with them, and respect them and work with them. And I think if you're not willing to do that, then you're probably in the wrong business, because you want your network, you want your contacts, so that I think one, you can continue to have opportunities, but most importantly, like grow and develop and have an outlet, because it can be a real lonely business. And if you're not able to call someone on the way home, call someone when you wake up that's doing it, and like talk to them and be like, what are you doing? What do you invent and experiment and bounce things off of, and have that sounding board. Like it's a lonely world, because as much as my wife is probably in that talk of support
Yeah.
and mentor,
Yeah.
she can't always relate in some of those things, and it's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, yeah, it goes back to your support system. So, Coach, this has been a great interview, man. I feel like we could do this for days. I would love to have you back on at some point. I'm going to let you go this time, and I know you've got a road trip up to Chico to get ready for, and so we wish you guys the Coyotes the best of luck here the rest of the way, and we'll keep an eye on you. And you're welcome back anytime into the program.
Doria, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Good to see you doing this side of things. Looking forward to our tournament in the winter again, and I hope everything goes well for you. Stay in touch.
You, you too. Yep, time to start training.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Take
All
care.
right,
Bye-bye.
see ya.